Scotland in 1885 was deep in the throngs of an economic depression. British wars in foreign lands, along with the Irish famine, had placed a continual tax drain on the British people. Businesses were failing and jobs were scarce.
So many people were emigrating to the States, Canada, and other parts of the British Empire.
On the west coast of Florida, the area known as Sarasota was a part of Manatee County. The area had long been home to Indian tribes and pioneer settlers, families such as the Whitakers. The Webbs, the Knights, and the Tuckers made their homes along the pristine waters of the bay between Hudson Bayou and Philippi Creek. Hearing about the wonders of Florida, a prominent Scotsman named John Selwyn Tate convinced several other wealthy Scots to invest in a 60,000-acre tract in Manatee County. The land was purchased from Henry Diston, sight unseen. Operating as the Florida Mortgage and Investment Company, the group promised grand opportunities to those who would invest in their 60,000-acre paradise.
To sell this piece of paradise, Mr. Tate created a brochure which promoted the healthiest and most beautiful place on all this earth.
It was late November 1885. The harsh Scottish winter was upon them as they arrived at Glasgow to board the steamer SS Furnesia and set sail for New York.
The great ship warped away from the dock into midstream, and its engines started ahead at slow speed. Soon the solid skyline ashore became less as buildings got more scattered and the dry docks appeared.
In Fernandina, the sojourners boarded a train for the cross-country trip to Cedar Key on Florida's west coast.
This was a rocky ride, noisy and dusty in the extreme. On the newly laid narrow-gauge railroad tracks, the cars being correspondingly small and uncomfortable.
Shortly after midnight on May 7, 1945, Germany surrendered unconditionally to Allied forces. Around the world, people stayed close to their radios, listening intently as the Mutual Broadcasting Network first announced the news during an interview program featuring actor Helmut Dentine.
Good morning from the White House in Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
This is a solemn but a glorious hour. I only wish that Franklin D. Roosevelt had lived to witness this day. General Eisenhower informs me that the forces of Germany have surrendered to the United Nations. The flags of freedom fly all over Europe.
A few months later, in the early morning hours of August 6, 1945, Captain Paul Tibbets piloted his B-29 and crew towards Hiroshima, carrying the first atomic bomb. At 8:16 a.m., the crew dropped their cargo, which detonated at approximately 1,000 feet. A blast of blinding light hit the crew. When they looked back, they saw an ominous black mushroom-shaped cloud boiling into the atmosphere. In 1969, Richard Nixon was sworn in as president for the first time. Hippies flocked to New York for the Woodstock Music Festival. And the Apollo 11 astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins blasted off for an epic space journey on July 16, 1969, leaving Earth far behind as they traveled to the moon. With Collins maintaining the mothership in orbit, Armstrong and Aldrin entered the lunar lander, making their way to the surface of the moon. On July 20, 1969, astronaut Neil Armstrong exited the module to become the first human ever to walk on the moon.
I'm going to step off the limb now. It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.